Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cindy Candelario, a little different than the faces that you usually see. I am this Heart to Heart is a special. I am sort of guest hosting for Laura today, and I have the lovely Dan Allen with me. So, um, yeah, we're super excited. So yeah, it might seem a little different than the regular heart to hearts, but we think it'll be a really cool topic of conversation. I'm really excited to have you with me, Dan, because I watched Unschooled over the summer when it first came out. I thought it was super great. So many points to talk through. But I guess today's heart to heart is going to be around Unschooled, which is I want to let you sort of introduce and talk through. But your final piece for school that came out super amazingly beautiful. So I wanted to, I guess, have you introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about like your timeline journey from like the beginnings of schooling for you in general to the point of like creation for Unschooled and how that came to be.
Cool. So, yeah, my name is Dan Allen, like Cindy was saying, and so I'm actually Laura's son, which is how I kind of got involved in this. Um, I always overhear her doing the live streams in the living room while I'm in here. But so yeah, Unschooled is my thesis project for my undergrad studies, and I went to undergrad at Hampshire College, and I graduated just in May, and essentially what Unschooled was is an animatic. And for those who don't know what an animatic is, it's essentially a blueprint that would then kind of be fully fleshed out by like an animation team, essentially. I'm a storyboard artist, and so generally storyboard artists don't really do full animations. They lay out how an animation would look, and or in a film, any narrative in that regard, like media narrative, I guess, and then it would be kind of filled in later. So an animatic is essentially like a rough cut. And so because I at the time was trying to be, trying to study how to be a storyboard artist, it made the most sense to just do an animatic instead of a full animated feature. It's more tangibly reliable and feasible. Um, and so yeah, and the story itself is very much based on my own experiences leaving school and being homeschooled throughout middle and high school, in that process and kind of what it was like to go through it, and on both sides, both my own experiences, but then also what it was like to be a parent during that. Obviously, I was not a parent during that, but I remember a lot of very distinct moments with my mom, and how those kind of affected things, and how she was feeling, and what that then kind of spilled into the rest of the experience of being homeschooled. And so a lot of that got into the film in the end. Um, yeah, um,
Yeah.
not sure what else I should say about it.
Yeah, super beautiful. And you can see some of that like passion and emotion in the film. A couple of pieces that I want to touch a little bit later. Um, Pretty beautiful. Awesome. Yeah. Super cool. Okay, so what is to sort of dive into some of the detail, what did you study in school? So what was your major? What was your focus? What class was the animatic for? Like how did that process go?
So I studied animation and creative writing, which was kind of as close to studying storyboarding specifically as I could get. Um, and it's combining two of my real passions. I love animation and I love writing and storytelling as a whole. Um, I always say that I'm a storyteller first, and that whatever I make is in service of telling cool stories, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
and so I didn't make it for a class specifically. It was made for like my thesis project. How it works at the school I went to um, is that at the end of your kind of career, college career, whatever you call it, you have a div, which is each semester is essentially a div, but your div three, which is like your end project, is essentially like your final thesis project. It is your thing that is talking about you know or summarizing kind of the things you studied at college at Hampshire. And so this was for that, basically. This was my Div 3 project.
Beautiful. Awesome. That's super, super cool. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel that I'm also at Robofun. I'm a junior program manager currently. I'm also a content creator at Hart. I'm super I'm a huge advocate for storytelling in its purpose. I love the way you worded that, where you sort of just service through whatever mediums of art release, you service storytelling and telling a wonderfully, beautifully woven together story. And I think that's super, super important. That makes me think about on Mondays, I teach at a school uptown. I teach stop motion animation. And we have sort of storyboard templates that we offer the students, and I have them use it before they create any of their pieces, like just to make sure that they're really understanding that through stop motion in the class, I try to teach the kiddos that there's many, many different roles in a production process. And depending on what kind of medium that production is coming from, so many different spaces and people in a real live action production will generally like have focuses in their specific pieces. But they, as students of the stop motion course, get to sort of dibble and dabble in every single one of those roles as they create. So they'll be the writers for their scripts. They'll draw the animations and the storyboards. They'll set the scene. So there'll be camera people, and there'll be the directors and producers, and like sort of get to have a full range of what those roles are throughout creating their stop motions. And then if they tend to like really enjoy one or the other, they know that they can sort of look into that as a focus for their future, which is pretty cool. But we use the storyboard templates all of the time. I'm super into the concept of a hero's journey right now. Have you heard of a hero's journey, Dan?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, pretty commonly beautifully source for creating sort of like a nice story
Mhm.
that has depth and holds like all of the fun pieces that sort of like cinema uses to create that emotional ethos that comes out of a beautifully written story. So they have to have those pieces, they have to have their ordinary scenes, they have to have their sort of mystical characters that come in, they have to have the pieces of climax and the return to the ordinary worlds. Like all of those things are so important for creating a story that makes sense, that has depth, that holds true to like really pulling us towards what this piece is about. Because I very much believe that storytelling is the main source of all of our doings and happenings as humans. And some of us are lucky enough to sort of push that forward as like the art that we create and release into the world that we get to share with other people to enjoy and experience with us in their own ways and in the ways that they come out and release for us as well. Because a lot of the times I'll have images in my mind around what I want this piece to be like at its end, and then through the fruition of creating it, sometimes it comes out completely different than I imagined, but still a final piece and a beautiful piece of work at the same time. So,
Yeah, I totally agree. I always say that art gives life context specifically.
yeah,
Um, I think about how many people in NASA now are there because they watched Star Trek as a kid. How many paleontologists grew up watching Jurassic Park or like
yeah,
Land Before Time. One of the key functions of art in humanity is to give us as people an understanding on which to interact with the world. You know,
yeah,
um, art started out as likely just trying to enrich life and understand things. It started with cave paintings and like very early stories. And the line between like art and religion and like science at that point was so blurred because they didn't have the means to really differentiate them in a sense.
yeah,
Um, but as we've kind of evolved and grown, I think humanity has gotten to a point where we have science to explain so much of life,
yeah,
but I think that doesn't mean art does not no longer have a place. I think the place of art is to kind of show how science can be used or should be used, you know.
Yeah.
And you know,
So
obviously art does not have one singular function, but it's something, you know, to kind of, yeah.
for sure, very much agree. Yeah, made me think like science. Well, in a previous age, right, we were sort of like carvings and cave drawings and Pluto's allegory of a cave, sort of artistic spaces, where like we didn't have the means to differentiate, and now we can sort of say. And in my mind, I thought like science gives us like explanation or these like tangible this tangible reasoning for happenings that help like ease our mind so that we can focus on other things. And I think art is sort of like the evolution of being able to focus not just on like our personal happenings but also like experiencing other point of views, experiencing story lines that might not exist in this realm of belief, right, with like fiction, no characters like mermaids or like things like Pirates of the Caribbean, different spaces of those spaces where we get to really step out of our happenings and experience things that happen in other spaces, in other people's realities, in other realms of imagination that create this beautiful source of depth that shifts the way that we experience life. And science, I think, has really brought us up to a space to be able to create as much as we do now, which I think is really beautiful. And I think art gives us the space to, so science sort of helps us ground in our thought process, and art gives us a process of like that free imagination that helps us sort of tap into these other realms that we have as well. Hmm. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, so I guess I we're gonna show Unschooled. Super excited. I guess one thing I wanted to know prior to is like, what did the creation process of this feel like for you? Like, for example, I know when I uh, edit videos amongst many other digital media projects. And when I do the video editing pieces, I generally like to focus on the audio first. For me, it works well in tying together that story, whether that's like picking out score or like making sort of the voices a little louder in the spaces so you can hear like these kinds of conversations, like whatever function. I usually grab the audio first and sort of piece that together so I know the length of the video or like what pieces I can cut out. And sometimes I try to like connect the clips that I'll like cut later on to like the sounds to make it a little more cinematic and like make sure that this like pops in this space with this sound so that you feel that. I guess that's sort of just been the routine that I've gotten into in my creative process. So do you have any like tips, tricks, routines that you get into when you're in creation? And then like how was this project specifically for you? Is there anything like um that you
So
did first?
yeah, so for this project specifically, I kind of always knew I wanted. Basically, I started this project in like September of last year, and
Cool.
I started it very much. So yeah, or no, year before at this point, September of 2020, I think. That was a while ago. And I wanted to go into it. Essentially, I wanted to basically create a project from scratch. You know, I had a bunch of previous ideas and previous, you know, pitches that I could have explored a little more. But for this, I wanted to specifically be new and no ties to stuff. So I kind of just started doodling. I started, you know, oh, I like this character. I like this design. You know, I'm going to explore them. I'm going to see what happens with them. And, you know, after a while, I had a lot of characters. Like, it's like, okay, this is the relationships. These are how they know each other, or this is how they interact with each other. But I was kind of lacking a story. You know, I was like, oh, they're young kids, so that's, you know, some kind of kid adventure basically, and it wasn't really specific or anything like that. And it was coming up to the point where I was like, okay, I really have to start working on this. You know, basically my first, you know, it was split into 2 semesters. My first half of my semester was basically just figuring out what the hell I was doing, and then the second semester was actually doing it. And so so at the like right as winter break was ending, I was like, oh, this should be a story about homeschooling, right? This needs a conflict. This needs a hook, you know, something to really grab the audience. And I just remembered how much turmoil and, conflict there was when I was first being homeschooled, when I was first being pulled out of school and, getting into this whole different world. And so when when I kind of hit that, I was like, everything just kind of fell into place. It's like, oh, so if this is the story of, this character being homeschooled for the first time, this is how it opens. This is the conflict. We're going to see these images and this montage, and it just kind of, then these characters will come in at this point. It just fell into place. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when we actually watch it, or after we watch it. And if you want, I also have a Behance page. If people know what that is, it's like a portfolio website, which you can check out. And you can see some behind the scenes stuff, some like very early concept art, and I worked with some like other people on this, and some of their work is in there too. Like some of their concept art is on there as well. I'm not sure if we can share links in the live stream, but it'll be there at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we'll make it happen. Yeah, that's super amazing. Yeah, I would love to see.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Alrighty. So without further ado, I guess let's air Unschooled, and then of course if you have any thought process, super excited to chat through a little later. Cool. Alrighty. So
yeah. I'll also say if there's like weird playback issues, it's also just on YouTube. If you just search like Unschooled Animatic, it should be like the first result. And I think there's also a link on the YouTube page itself for my Behance page where you can see more of like behind the scenes stuff.
Awesome. Good to know. We'll be checking that out as soon as this is done. Cool. Alrighty.
Trying to understand the lesson.
Ma'am, please calm down.
No, I'm not calming down. We told you in extreme detail the kind of student Philippa was, and this is how you're handling it?
If you'll just sit down.
This is ridiculous.
Mom! I can...
We'll talk in the car.
Yeah, I think we're getting a bit of feedback loop.
Are you experiencing a bit of a feedback loop?
A little bit of a feedback loop. Maybe mute your end so the audio is just coming from that might work.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Let me know if this is better. Thumbs up. Totally cool.
Don't worry, Philippa. We'll figure this out.
This is my fault, isn't it?
No! I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell. It's just, this is not your fault, Philippa. And I don't want you blaming yourself, okay?
Okay.
And you know what? I bet this time tomorrow we'll have everything sorted out.
ADD. Dyslexia.
ADHD.
Executive functioning disorder.
Try these pills. Use this worksheet. Read this book.
Go to this website.
And you can read more in the brochure.
Sit up straight.
And if you're ready, we can get started on the tour.
Yes, we'd love to. Isn't that right? Philippa?
Huh?
Here at Achievement Prep, we strive towards excellence. Our coursework is light and engaging. We have some of the best food in the state. And of course, we specialize in troubled students.
You're not seriously gonna send me there, are you?
I thought it looked nice.
That's what you said about the last 3 schools.
Yeah, they were nice too.
Yeah, nice for a prison.
Well, you're not exactly an easy kid to find a school for. Wait, Philippa, that really didn't...
Mom, the light!
Are you okay? Honey, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Whatever.
Philippa, come get pizza.
I've hacked into the most secret government.
She take the bait?
No.
The most secret.
I'm sorry, Booble.
You know, I could talk to her if you want.
Maybe. I guess. I'm just not sure what I'm supposed to do here.
Your mother and I used to have this exact conversation about you. And I think you turned out pretty well.
Thanks, Dad. You can try if you want, Cass. You might have more luck than I did.
Hey, Lucky is my middle name.
You named your daughter Lucky?
Dad.
I swear to God, Grandpa. Hey, Fee, you want pizza?
Yeah, sure. Just leave it by the door or something.
What you working on?
Research.
Research for what?
Trying to find a new school.
How's it going?
It sucks! It's all the same. Same grades, same homework, same stupid rules, and I can't do any of it right. This is the best I could find.
Yeah? Let's see. Troubled students. Fee, why do you think you're troubled?
I found this the other day. I think Mom got it because of me.
Philippa, you're not troubled. You're just different. Hey, what about these other schools? They can't be that bad, right? You can't become a nun, you're Jewish.
See? I can't do anything right.
Dude, that is not how, Hey, Fee, what about this one?
That homeschooling seminar? Oh yeah, that looked cool. But Mom will never go for it.
I think you should try it.
I guess I could. But Mom never listens to me. Maybe I should just go to super military school.
Enough. I can't take it anymore. You, Philippa Cohen, are hella smart and really creative. And I will hear nothing to the contrary.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go. You coming?
Your child looks to you as an example for their own behavior.
Mom!
So it's important to be patient with them, especially
Mom!
when they're acting out
Mom!
or when they're not getting their way.
You gotta look at this.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like a real education.
Well, it's not like it could be any worse than last time.
What was that?
I said it's not like it could be any worse than last time.
I just meant that. We can try it out.
We can?
Well, I can't promise anything, but it's just one seminar. We can give it a shot.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so
But we're bringing your sister.
What? Why?
'Cause you don't get out enough. Now you two need to go to bed. We gotta get up at 8:30.
Come on! We're gonna be late!
We're coming!
Squish, nerd.
Stop it. No fighting or we're not going.
Kids.
Come on, Mom! Hurry,
Okay,
hurry!
Honey,
Come on!
I'm coming.
That's her! That's the lady from the website!
You must be Maggie, right? I'm so glad you could make it. I'm Maud, and what do you know about homeschooling?
No school!
Well, kinda. What we do here is work with different teachers who offer small classes tailored to whatever students need. Every child is different, and it's up to the family to decide what's best for them.
My parents got me a coloring book with...
And all of the teachers are. What? Yeah. Yes. Go ahead. Are state certified?
That's why I don't eat Tulip brand crayons anymore.
Thank you for sharing, Bezo. I'll need to speak with your mother when she comes to pick you up later, okay? And I see we have a new student. My name is Miss Franny, and we were just doing introductions. Name, age, and favorite book.
Oh, My name is Philippa. I'm 11 years old, and my favorite book is A Witch in the Woods by...
You read A Witch in the Woods? That's my favorite book! What book are you on?
Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite character?
All right. You'll have time to chat after class.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
I don't know, Dad. I feel like such a bad parent. Kids should be in school, shouldn't they?
Maggie, what do you remember from when you were her age?
I see where you're going with this, Dad. I bet you don't even remember anything from school. But I do. And I just want her to learn the way I did.
But she doesn't. Philippa's a great kid, but not in the way you were. And that's fine.
So what should I do?
Ask her. It's her life, after all. And I think you should trust her to help make those decisions.
So I'm going to do this story about this world where monsters have to try and fit in with normal people, and there's...
Wow, that sounds even dumber than that book Hazel never shuts up about.
Well, at least we know how to read.
So guys, how many schools do we think Philippa got kicked out of before coming here? 5? 6?
Huh?
Didn't you get kicked out, like, twice?
No, that's not... It doesn't even matter. This is a dumb conversation anyways.
What a total...
Don't worry about her. She's just insecure.
Yeah.
But why are you here? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, it's okay. I did actually have to leave school, like, 3 times.
I'm sorry.
Thanks. It's kind of normal for me at this point. I guess I'm just not good enough for a normal school.
What? No one ever talks to me about Witch in the Woods. And your story is gonna be awesome. Why wouldn't you be good enough?
I mean...
Why would you even want to be good at normal school? It sucks.
It does suck.
Traditional education is only designed around training the working class to be obedient to their capitalist overlords.
What she said.
I mean, you guys are totally right. I'd love to do this instead of whatever fancy school my mom has picked out. I just don't think she'll ever listen to me.
Just be honest with her. I think she'll listen.
Philippa! I should go. Thanks, guys. Bye!
Hi, sweetheart. How was...
I loved it, Mom. It's so cool. And I already made 2 friends, see? And Miss Franny is such a nice teacher. She said that tomorrow we're gonna go out to the woods and learn about mud.
Wow. You really liked it here, huh? Huh. Do you think you'd be happy here?
Yeah, I really do.
Well, I think we have a lot to discuss, but I think this could work.
Really? You're actually into this?
There's a lot to figure out, but I trust your judgment.
Very well done.
You guys ready to leave yet?
Mom said I can be homeschooled.
What? No, she didn't.
Maybe. I said maybe.
Why didn't you homeschool me, Mom? School sucks.
It does suck.
I'm not going to regret this, am I?
Not one bit.
So yeah, that was Unschooled. It's definitely fun looking back at it now. There's lots of little things I probably would change, but that's part of the course.
Yeah, I was literally about to ask, like, how does it feel watching it over now? It's been a couple months since.
Yeah, but it's been like half a year now, because I finished it in May, a little more than half a year. But it's been weird but great, and I'm oftentimes I look back at my own work and I can't watch this. It's so bad.
I feel that.
And I didn't, it just had its problems, but I still really enjoyed it, and felt real like.
I was gonna let you finish. Say it's a super beautiful piece of work. Like I very very much enjoyed it too. Like I thought it was so so great. Honestly, my fangirl for a bit. But I really really appreciated like different pieces. So I wanted to sort of share those with you. Yeah, I from like the aesthetic of it, I really appreciated. Well, I feel like Philippa kind of reminds me of like Scratch the Cat's like older, sophisticated like cousin trying to figure out their life, which is super cute. But you know, that's just like something that I like pieced together. But I love the way like your like the visual metaphors I thought were so cool. Like the way how they're sort of when they're seeking like professionals to sort of like and they're like ADHD, oh, this could be dyslexia. And I really loved how the scene is like um, Philo and her mom sitting, but then like the little details of the offices keep changing around, right? So those that scene where like it's like they're sort of in their stillness, but to show the time and the momentum and all the pieces and strenuous amount of work that this is, like those the little details of like the background shifting for the different offices that you were in, like I thought that was super well done. And then like the scene in the car where the lights changing and it's just sort of this like tense pressure in that scene, right? Like the lights changing and they like almost get into an accident, but like, and I was like, nothing really to do with the storyline aside from showing that tension that exists in that moment, you know, the frustration that's happening that they've like built up in this process and like just sort of a release of that frustration in a way that the audience kind of takes with them as well, because you feel that in the moment and the sound of the cars honking and just that moment tension like is present and it goes along with sort of the storyline of just being frustrated around trying to get it all to work and trying to find these best practices and just so really feeling that journey with you in that through like those little moments that are placed in very very much appreciated that and then introducing all the characters in the second half, like she makes friends at school and she's like super excited and sticks up for herself, right? Like with the one like antagonist who's like, oh, how many schools, whatever, whatever. And she like sticks up for herself and then she like is open with her friends and then sticks up for herself like when mom comes back in. She's like, I really, really liked it here. Like I know it's not exactly sort of the route we've been looking through before, but I really enjoyed the space and just like being open about that. Like I thought it was so beautiful. Like I thought it was such a beautiful piece of work. Like thank you for just the production of that, sharing it, for sharing it with us, for letting the story out of your brain and the ways that it came out. It was super, super great.
Very sweet. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
If we have time, I can share a little bit of some of the concept art and stuff like that.
Yeah, please.
Excuse me. Let me see. I'm clicking the screenshot button. My computer's a little slow, so you'll.
No worries. And as you do that, if what do you want to? I guess in 10 years, like where do you see you and this passion creation?
Good question. You know, I'd love to work in some sort of studio or, you know, have my own studio to, you know, make cool projects like this, you know, on a much bigger scale and with more, you know, intricacies and fine details. You know, this was a project made by like 3 people, you know, and so, you know, I want to see what I can do with more and, you know, more collaborators and more, you know, creative minds and just see kind of the things that can come out of that. But yeah, so here's some early concept art. Here's like Philippa, Hazel, and Tyson, kind of just some very basic concept art, you know, kind of exploring, you know, what do they look like, you know, what is their dynamic. You know, Philippa was always kind of outgoing.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure if it's showing up on the big screen. I can see it on my side, but I'm not sure if it's showing up on the big screen. So just want to double check you're sharing your screen currently. And
I should be. I don't know how this thing works. So
totally cool. Yeah, learning process for all of us. Yeah. So underneath where if on Restream underneath the
yeah, I said screen sharing, and it says streaming. Is
Okay,
that
great.
we're
So
good?
continue. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, we always had the kind of, oh, there we go. All right, so I guess I'll start over. But this is like just some very early exploration on design and kind of personality, figuring out what they look like. They've stayed fairly consistent throughout the process. There's never been like a really big change, like just some minor details, figuring out how it's best to draw them, stuff like that. In terms of personality, they've always been fairly consistent as well. Philip has always been kind of a spitfire, kind of, out there and punchy and, adventurous, and Hazel was a little more shy and a little more, withdrawn because she's a hedgehog. So, and this is just some kind of like early posing, figuring that out. And then this is Philippa and Cass, her older sister. Just kind of figuring out that dynamic. She's kind of like the too cool for school older sister who's just like, I think we'll show her in her band a little later on, but just kind of taking care of her, watching out for her. Let's see, I just want to move the next one. Oh, there's 11% there. Here's some more exploration on Cass. I figured she'd like play bass in a band and just was like, man, I'm so cool. Yeah. There's another one of her like in a little band with some other characters. This kind of idea was like, oh, maybe this could work as like a TV show. And so, there's a lot of little exploration on story ideas and like, what could come of it if, continued. Here's kind of like early concept of the family, of like maybe like a younger version. This is actually Cass, not Philippa. This is one thing you can always tell is that Philippa has a little torn ear, whereas Cass doesn't. She usually has the earring. That's kind of how you tell them apart. Here's Grandpa the turtle, who behind the scenes named Shimon. Him searching Google on Google. That was like a suggestion from a friend. I just what?
Very grandpa-ish, searching Google on Google, indeed.
I don't know why I like old Jewish men, but I always do, and so I threw one in there. Is that the end of the concept art? Here's early Tyson art. Hold on. This is early Tyson art, just kind of figuring out, what he might look like, kind of his personality. I didn't want him to be another shy character because he kind of had that. So he's kind of like the balance between them, between Hazel and Philippa, where he's kind of like just chill and just kind of like, figuring things out logically.
Yeah, the super supporter, very like believe in yourself. The super clear cut. Yeah.
And then this is Bezo, very early Bezo art, who is the frog in that one scene, who was created by one of the other storyboard artists, Gray. I was like in that process of just like figuring out the world and what other characters might live in it. And Bezo is just kind of this, very naive, a little out of it guy who eats crayons. And here I kind of made him a combination of like Kermit the Frog and Bob Ross.
Beautiful.
So
I love that too. That and the integration. She's like, I might have to speak to your mom when she gets here, but welcome to the student.
There's some unused, I think, audio where we had to like in that scene where Bezo was talking, we had to have like a lot of audio to like have in the background, and it just goes on like, oh, I ate the crayons and I stuck them up my nose and all things.
That's awesome. Plays and end credits.
And so this is art from Gray, the other storyboard artist who worked on it. Just kind of again figuring out the character designs and explorations. It's a very different style than mine and what ended up in the final piece, but it's really helpful to kind of just see, oh, how would these characters translate outside of me drawing them, especially if I'm working with other people. These are some early explorations here. I don't think, Hazel didn't have a name at this point when we were just kind of figuring out characters. You can see little things like, oh, the ear is torn on the other ear. And, Tyson, I love this design. I love all these designs. But, they just work so well. And then, here's Bezo, who kind of was like a little unofficial mascot for the team, who just kind of, Gray loves frogs. So we had to throw a frog in there. And then Gray also came up with Franny, this snake teacher who, that's like just something I totally wouldn't have thought of. This like very cute ball python, I think it is. Ended up here. And then here's some art from Finn, who was involved kind of early on, but had to drop out. And just, again, figuring out the style, figuring out, what the characters look like, how do we differentiate them. Here's some early, I think this is Beatrice here, and then this is early Philippa. And this is an early version of Cass, who I like hipster Cass, honestly. And then I think this is Hazel up here with Maud. This is just like, I think, a teacher we didn't know quite what to do with. And then, here's some other kind of just explorations. This is one of the like in-universe fantasy characters that the kids write books about, Now we're getting to some work by Cameron, who did most of the backgrounds for the piece. This is a little whale teacher who didn't end up making it in, but is, again, I love the design. The little tiny eyes and the little glasses, just looks great. Here's some more exploration on Cass, the kind of cool rock star. I like the earrings are on the other side of the ear instead of down, up. Just kind of exploring that. Here's some exploration on Beatrice, who's the little bat antagonist. It was very hard to figure out the wings on her, I'll say, and so it was hard. And the voice actor who voiced Beatrice, who also was the voice of Maggie, the mother, who's just incredibly talented, Stephanie Willing, does like she does like audiobook narrations, and was like I knew her from a while ago. I was like, hey, would you want to help out? Like, oh yeah. And so she came up with this idea to give Beatrice a little bit of a lisp because of the fangs, which I thought was really fun. And then this is, I think, early Maud, with the little witch's hat. And then this is just some like kind of key art for locations and some more background stuff. I think this is Maud's house, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, I think in some cut material, Maud is like a sculptor, and so she has like her barn where she does all her art studio stuff, and then like her house where she does like the homeschool stuff.
I noted when Mom goes to try to offer pizza to make her feel better, she like knocks on her like door, and I noted how I'm like, oh, she's like in a whole separate like complex. Super interesting. Instead of like just going upstairs.
And this is, I think, concept art for Philippa's room, which is nice, really colorful. Which is, fortunately, there's no color. And this is just their house, which. So good. Cameron really knocked out of the park here. And then these are character turnarounds, which is just kind of figuring out, this is, what I would give to an artist to be like, okay, this is how the character looks from different perspectives, along with some, general ideas of how the faces and expressions look. One big thing, especially for all of these cat characters, is the ears are like big indicators. So like when they're happy, they go up, or when they're sad, they go down, or angry, they go kind of to the side. And all the cat characters have very similar designs. I did this as a breakdown to, I think, for Gray, just to like be like, hey, here's how I do it. If you want to follow at home, send me some of your fun Philippa art. I'd love to see it. I doubt anyone will, but you never know. And this is just kind of how I do it. And I mean, the thing is, all three of the main cat characters have essentially the same design, minus a couple details. So like, Philippa always has the torn ear. And then I think Cass has the earring and has spikier hair, and then like I think a little spikier cheek tufts. And then Maggie is is much simpler, no tufts, no things on the ears, no hair. And then this is Hazel with the big glasses, and Shimon, the grandpa, who is just very sweet and. Really like drawing him.
Who I might aspire to be in the next 40 or 50 years.
Honestly, if I end up as Shimon, I'm fine. I'm
That's pretty.
And then this is some Tyson art. That's a character turnaround. Expressions, trying to figure that out. And that is it for my behind the scenes stuff. You can find all this on my Behance page, which is just down.
Really right on that. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And like that is amazing. This project was amazing. It came out so great. Like I hope you're super proud of the work. Like that was like really did take us through like a beautifully cinematically like vibrant piece in just those expressions and drawing out those moments and those pieces like really makes the audience feel there and at home with them and in the troubles of um, conflict, you know, and trying to just like figure out what the best next steps are. And we all sort of like deal with those things with our families in our personal spaces, where you're sort of at a crossroads and have to make a decision. And so I think it really just hones in on like those moments and the process of like I love the like family conjunction at the end, the final scene, or they're sitting over a hill, sort of um, like just relishing in that joy of like being together and having come up with like a beautiful next step in their process. Yeah, thank you so much. So beautifully done. Wonderful. I guess to close out, what I guess what does creation look like for you? What does learning look like for you? If you can like say something to sort of aspiring artistic creative beings who might want to follow in the same footsteps or anything to mention?
What is creation is ongoing and is messy and nebulous, and you know the best decisions I made when I was making this project were letting go of certain things and bringing people in. You know, I at the very beginning said, okay, I'm not going to do anything I've done before. I'm not going to do any previous work. It's just going to be a completely new thing. And I developed it with my team, who were just incredible and just so helpful in that regard. And you know, I allowed them to add things that I was kind of unsure about. Like I didn't know what to do with this frog when it was introduced. I was like, okay, but it found its place, and we love Bizo, and like having little moments. I think I worried as like a director of this that I had to like be firm and like put like oh, this doesn't work anymore, I gotta cut it. And I found ways to include people on that. Like I remember moments specifically where it's like, okay, this scene doesn't quite work anymore, or this shot needs to be edited or cut, and instead of just doing it and then moving on, I would bring it up with the artist, be like, hey, I'm having this issue, and explain my perspective. And then they ended up bringing me a much better solution than I had in mind. And I was like, oh yeah, that works perfect. And so it simultaneously didn't feel like I was stepping on anyone's toes, and they were contributing. And so don't be afraid to kind of explain and work out your issues. Don't feel like you have to like do it my way or the highway. Like have your vision, have your work, but understand that it can really be improved by people adding their own spice to it. Like my piece would not be as good without people. With literally half of the drawings you saw on that are not mine. They're all Gray's, and I can very very clearly see the distinction between the two art styles. And apparently other people haven't seen that, but I always see it. And so remember that when you're collaborating and when you're making a piece of art, it's as important to give it let it be its own thing as it is to be your own thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's my little spiel.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And yeah, it just from an outside perspective, it just looks like a beautifully woven piece of wonderful story. So thank you so much for the journey.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching our special Heart to Heart. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next Thursday as well. Laura will be back. But thank you, Dan, so much. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Be sure to check out Unschooled on YouTube, and his Beehive is connected as well. So
thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Have a beautiful one.